Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say. An application filed by late Herbert Wigwe's cousin, Christian Wigwe, and Pastor Shingle Wigwe, Herbert Wigwe's dad, seeking the appointment of interim administrators for the estate of the late Herbert Wigwe, the former Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Access Bank, has been dismissed by the Lagos State High Court, Family Probate Court in Ikeja. Justice A.O. Adeyemi, in a ruling delivered on Friday, the 6th of February 2025, resolved all the issues raised by the applicants and found their claims to be unsustainable. The applicants, Christian Wigwe and Pastor Shingo Wigwe, had filed suit against Access Bank, Coronation Merchant Bank Limited, and United Securities Limited. Now, the world of estate management is often plagued by conflicts and disputes, pitching property stakeholders against each other, from issues of maintenance and repairs to dispute acquisition in the event of course, a demise. The estate management battle can be a very costly and time-consuming ordeal. In this discussion, we would try to explore the common challenges that arise in estate management and examine strategies for resolving these conflicts and promoting harmonious relationships amongst all parties. It's another beautiful episode on your favorite primetime show, Ways, and my name remains Osayua Mesale. Today, as I mentioned earlier, we are focusing on estate management, and we are zeroing in on the battle with the Wigwe family. Not specifically focusing on their family, but a scenario, like case scenario. So remember, Ways is all about you. You are the why in Ways. So be a part of the conversation every single day and add your voice to the conversation. You can also head on to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and like, share, invite your families and friends to join the show right now. When I open the phone lines, I would love to hear your thoughts on estate management, especially in the case of a demise. Do you have a will? What's your take on all the events that are happening? All right, I'd love to hear your say on that. But first, let me allow you ponder on my quote for today. It says, when it comes to divide an estate, the politest men quarrel. I think this was just apt when I saw this quote, right? As long as property is going to be shared, there's going to be trouble. Most of the time, we always see this happen. So we'll delve into the conversation much later, but I want to run off. When I come back from that break, I'll let you in on my many news interests for the day. Stay with me. All right, thanks for staying tuned. I'll start with the conversation. I told you we'll be monitoring NNPC. So NNPC has come out to say that they never imported 200 million liters of petrol in February, and that is a lie. The statement was a response to the report, not, of course, by the Punch newspaper, but the national oil firm imported 200 million liters of petrol recently. Shoneye, Olufemi Shoneye, who is the Chief Corporate Communications Officer, Olufemi Shoneye, attributed the report to either lazy and unprofessional journalism or a deliberate sponsored attempt by economic saboteurs to mislead the public. He said that the report alleging that NNPC had imported over 200 million liters of PMS, which is the premium motor spirit, is completely false, baseless, and reckless misrepresentation of facts. It is either a result of course, as I said, laziness on the part of journalists or professional journalism, or deliberate sponsored attempt to just sabotage them. So I'll move on to the story, because, you know, it's important that when we say something and we see a rebuttal or whatever it is, we come back again to also report the story. So I'll move on to the next story. Remember the story around the senator that had an outburst yesterday with the Senate president? So yeah, in an interview in another media house, right? Ade Ramodu, I think who is he now? Sorry, I'm trying to find. He's a member of the National Assembly, definitely. Said that the Senate was not a platform for entertainment. That what we are saying is that the National Assembly is not for content creation and entertainment. National Assembly is serious business. He was, of course, addressing Natasha's outburst at the House, and he said if she is talking like that, being bullied or sidelined as a first-timer, she even had 3 committees that she was appointed as chairman. And you're only entitled to 1 committee. So he says there's no such thing as a bully that is going on. Well, there's a long conversation around that, but I would really love that the Senate president addresses this situation, as I said, because a lot of people are having speculations around if this is personal or this is actually just, you know, outrightly, yeah. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'll move on to the next story, in Abuja, said former President General Ibrahim Badamasi showed unusual courage and patriotism by admitting that the late MKO won the June 12 election in 1993. The president, who was, of course, a special guest at the book launch, Babangida's autobiography, A Journey in Service, and the fundraising of the IBB Presidential Library project, saluted the former leader's contribution to the country's history and development. Oof, I don't even know what to say. So he says that his admission about Abiola's victory would help set the record straight. Yeah. Honestly, I have no comments. A lot of people that I mean, they were there when this issue was really, really heated, and were part of the struggle, you know. There's just been a lot of condemnation as to what we all witnessed yesterday, to the point of raising, I think almost now I hear it's about 17 billion and all of that. It's like a reward for, I don't know, someone clearly admitting, do we even try to measure the consequences of what had happened as a result of that one decision? I don't know. Do we do all of those things? Okay, so I'll move on to the next story. I'm rushing the story because I have a guest that I want to discuss, what's it called, the conversation with. Yes, my own very Lammy, she's in the building. So yeah. Around what we're discussing today, an appeal court had filed to challenge a ruling by the Lagos State High Court in the ongoing legal dispute over the estate of the late former group managing director and chief executive officer of Access Bank, Herbert Wigwe. The appellant, Pastor Shingle Wigwe, that's his father, and Christian Wigwe, his cousin, are contesting the decision made by the Justice Olayinka Adeyemi. They argued that the trial judge erred in refusing their request for interim relief pending the resolution of the substantive suit. In a notice of appeal that was dated on the 13th of February, the appellant pointed out 10 grounds for contesting the ruling, and they argued that the trial judge wrongly held that relief, right? That relief sought in the interlocutory application were identical or similar to those in the main suit. So they maintain that interim relief was solely intended to preserve the estate and ensure that the welfare of late Wigwe's minor, of course, is protected. All right, so we'll take a break now. When we come back from that break, I believe my guest, Olamide Onifade, is here. Yes, for those that don't know, she's not only, what's it called, a real estate lawyer. She's also, I mean, she's a divorce lawyer. She's a real estate lawyer. She's also a family lawyer. So all these issues around estate, Lami is just, you know, the right guest to have this conversation with. So I'll go on a break and I'll be back with Lami.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
For staying tuned, now the Wigwe family, a prominent Nigerian family, has been embroiled in a heated estate management battle, sparking intense debate and controversy. At the center of the dispute is the management of the family estate, with various family members vying for control and decision-making power. Now, recently, Pastor Shingle Wigwe, that's Herbert's dad, and what's his name? Christian Wigwe had approached the court asking that an administrator be appointed to head Herbert Wigwe's estate. The defendants in the case are Uche Wigwe, Igboje Ike Imokwede, and Miss Otuchi Wigwe, who is, of course, late Herbert Wigwe's 26-year-old daughter. So, yeah, I mean, this conversation is so important, right? Because this is something we see all the time happening. I mean, I hear that even MKO Abiola's estate, they're still fighting. I have a friend, you know, she's always talking about how since her father passed, with all the wealth he had gathered, is, what's it called, real estate and everything, they've not just been able to come. This is years later. I'm talking 20 years later, they still haven't resolved the issue. So these are things that we see happen all the time. right? So that is why it was important for us to bring in Olamide Onifade, right? The fact that this is her specialty. So I said earlier, apart from real estate law, divorce law, she also does, what's it called, family estate management, right?
No.
Family law, or what do you call it?
Family,
real estate, and
estate planning.
Estate planning law, sorry. But let me thank you so much. You're always coming when I need you the most, and it's very important. So when I saw this report, I just said, you know what, instead of us doing cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha on top of another person's matter, right? Yes, there might be a reference to why we're having the conversation, but this is what we see all the time, especially with families that have massive, you know, what's it called, estate, right? Why do we keep having these issues? What exactly is the underlying dynamics that have contributed to all these battles every single time that I mean, there's a demise?
Well, how do you want me to answer the question? Because infighting in families, especially over estate, is a global phenomenon. It's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. However, it's more prevalent in African society because of our various social, cultural dynamics. There's a lot of extramarital affairs going on, which births, of course, children outside of marriages, then polygamy, and especially the failure of a lot of people to properly plan for their lives. So I would say, so when I say I'm an estate planning lawyer, people really understand what it means. And I try to explain that it is planning your life here during incapacitation and after your demise. So it's just catering for your life. But when you attempt to have conversation with people on this issue, they feel that we are wishing them death. You know, a lot is moribund. I know that discussion of mortality is moribund, but it's a discussion we always have to have. If you genuinely love your loved ones, and you are responsible, you would plan your estate while you're alive. People try to push you at the back burner like it doesn't matter, because at that time it doesn't matter. But by the time it matters the most. So so people ask me, when do you think I should make a will and all of that? And will is just a part of estate planning. There are a lot of instruments under estate planning. You have wills, trust, power of attorney, insurance, trust funds, you know, quite a number of instruments that you can use to plan your life while you're here. Now, I would not say that estate planning totally diminishes all this infighting in the family. But I can tell you that it diminishes to a very
it reduces.
Yes, the impact of it. So why you see all this infighting and all of that is because a high percentage of people do not plan for their lives after death.
Hey, you know, it's a
global
heavy thing.
Yes, it's a global phenomenon. However, it is limited in the Western world because they have laws.
Because I was just going to say that, Lami, interestingly, I think last week, I was watching a video and I saw the most richest animals in the world. In fact, there's one particular one, the richest. That dog, he has the fourth, the fifth, the first, the second, the third. So generation to generation, they've been passing down the wealth of the
It's a trust fund.
What I'm trying to say is
that I don't understand. Is it a dog?
A dog.
That's a trust fund dog.
I'm saying because I'm just trying to understand. So the dog dies, the children of the dog will inherit. So I'm now wondering that if an animal they can take care of an animal even in death, because Oyinbo people they trust it so well that when they say that they want to will their entire property to that dog, it's going to that dog. Nobody's going to take it. So how come human beings are not able to put that structure, that caters to them?
It's just an African thing. We don't like discussing death. The moment you talk about death, people say, God forbid, you are wishing me death and all of that. How about talking to your parents about, hey, mom, dad, have you tried to, arrange your passing and all that? Like, Do you want to inherit me? Do you want to do this? Do you want to kill me and all of that? But it's the most responsible thing to do.
You know, interestingly, right, when I was trying to read up on this Herbert Wigwe's case, it was shocking to me that he never wrote a will. That in fact, they said there's a particular will right now, something around maybe something that is contestable because it was whether it was fabricated in California, so they do not it's not standing as a what's it called, a legal document, right? And there was also something that was said that even wills can be contested, that the court can actually what's it called, overturn a will if they probably suspect something. Hey, help me explain, because again, when you say that people don't plan things, a lot of people, they've also gotten to that realization that something might happen, I might die, and my families will not be taken care of. They've started writing wills. So now that I'm hearing that even wills too can be overturned, so I mean, at least that's supposed to be like a start, Lami.
Yes. So I said it earlier. I said, while estate planning does not totally diminish, it reduces it to a reasonable extent. Now, a will is a legal document and is a testamentary document, which means that it only takes effect after death. Now, the person who wrote the will writes his wishes, but in most cases, nobody knows at the time they do it. So, of course, you know, people in family, there's no way a will can, in most cases, it doesn't satisfy everybody. So it is very, very, in most cases, people will challenge it, right? So for me, I tell my client, when you're writing your will, a will is a legal document. You must ensure that you procure the services of specialists in that area. Sometimes people attempt to write it themselves. Sometimes they use the services of probably legal professionals that are not grounded in that area. It's a very technical document because it only speaks after your death, right? And because you are not there to give evidence, no oral evidence to say, okay, this is what our intention, you know, your intention. So it's subject to challenges. So you must make sure that you're procuring the services of
a professional,
and that you try as much as possible to let people know. They might not know the content, right? Let children discuss it. But you know, a lot of parents, they even have wills, and parents and children don't even know. The beneficiaries of the estate don't even know. You have a lawyer that your children don't even know. So in as much as it's not advisable to let them know the probably content of the will, but explain to them that it's a document. So it reduces it. Then again, in those days, it was tougher because it's written. Now, if I'm writing a will for someone, after they write it, they will read it on a video and record it. And also, you try as much as possible to let probably their doctors or psychiatrists or somebody
to be there to say that they were in their senses.
Yes, right sense. Because most of the time, the reasons why people challenge wills is maybe forgery.
And they were not in their right senses,
yes,
they were coerced and all of that.
Yes, undue influence and mental capacity and all of that. So if you're a lawyer, you know, legal professional that is well-grounded, you take care of all those things. So it minimizes it, but that's not to say it diminishes. But at least it's a starting point. So if the court looks at it and sees that it's a valid document, it will give effect to it.
So talk to me about legal guardianship. I'm trying to understand all these terminologies that they are using, right? Especially with this case, given the fact that the parents and probably all the people that understood the business, the core people, are gone. So it seems like, you know, the explanation on the surface level, it seems like the grandfather, which is Herbert's dad, is trying to protect his grandchildren from a supposed, you know, predator that's trying to take over their father's estate.
Who are the predators?
That's the Aikimokwede and all of that. That is the... But I don't think so. Because somebody has asked this question that if Herbert were alive, right, knowing by the character of who Ike is, right, he's that person that does things by the book, very, very, you know, in fact, it's Herbert that does things as the spirit lives in.
Let me explain.
So help me explain what that guardianship that the father is fighting for. Because what they're saying is that let them pend whatever it is, and just first of all, you know, I don't know, let them pend the situation.
The grandfather wants to come in as a legal guardianship. Okay, now.
No. He wants the case to be pending, like suspend anything and let them verify so many things. I'll look for that story, but let me explain guardianship.
Hold it. Let's just take it one at a time. Now, guardianship is just when you appoint somebody legally to take care of the affairs of your minor children when you are not able to. So sometimes you might even be alive, but you might not be able to take up that role of a parent. You appoint guardianship. But when you're doing your estate planning, one thing that is so important, but people undermine it, is appointment of guardians for your minor children. You see that sometimes when parents die, they just begin to share the children amongst themselves and the family because people do not cater to that. Now, part of your will or probably your trust fund should cater for who the guardians of your children are. Now, in this situation now, because the late Herbert Wigwe did not make provisions for his minor children, it is now going to be subject to the discretion of the court. The court is a stranger in this process. Now, you are saying that Ike might be in a better position to cater for his children. But in the scheme of things, right, for who is better suited to take guardianship of children, it might be the grandfather. Because he is a blood relative.
But does that always apply, Lami?
That is why I'm saying that while you are alive, do it. Do you understand? Because if you leave it to the court has no sentiment, has no emotions. The court will go by the law, not by sentiment. Now, the deceased person is down 6 feet down. He can't tell us his wishes. That is why it's imperative that if you have children under the age of 18, please make your will and specifically note who the guardians of the children will be. Now, don't write it and don't let it be a surprise to them. Ensure that you take their permission before you entrust such responsibility. It's not everybody that wants to take on other people's children. So these are discussions that you must have. So after you have that discussion and they have agreed to take such responsibility on your behalf, you can then put them as guardians. And the court will give precedent.
So are you trying to say to me now, Lami, that as I did like this now, I'm supposed to don't appoint guardianship for my children in the event of anything?
Yes.
My God.
However, if there's another parent, of course, the other parent is naturally the guardian. Well, in this case of this deceased person,
everybody died.
Almost everybody died in his family. Which people would say, oh, it can never happen. But it can happen.
And we've seen it happen.
And it does happen. So couples can agree that to say that if I'm not alive, of course, it will naturally behove on the other parent. But in a situation that it happens jointly, who and who will be the guardians of our children?
So sad, because, you know, I used to see a lot of big men. You know, the big men, they say that that they don't enter the same flight with their family. Yes. That they always separate the, what's it called? They will probably, if they have 2 children, wife will take 2, you go. Husband will take 2, go. You know, they do all of those things. So it means that, Lami, that they have that consciousnness that anything can happen.
Everybody
what stops us? Why don't we? Why is it that you're not shouting enough as an estate planning lawyer? Because I think the consciousness, right? It was shocking for me to hear that a Herbert did not have a will. It was shocking for me.
Because a lot of people don't think about death. And how do I keep on? Okay, so we go to a gathering of friends, and I start to talk to them about, have you written your will? Do you have a trust fund? Have you appointed guardians for your children? How do you think it will sound? People don't like to discuss death. So it's a bit, it's a very sensitive area of law, but people who know actually know, and they try as much as possible to do it. But I try as much as possible to have conversations with them. The day I tried to have that conversation with my dad, you need to see how he flipped.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Yes. But I said, these are practical questions. You're over the age of 70. We should start having that conversation. And he
So has he
flipped.
finally agreed?
I don't think so.
Hey.
I think he said, oh, he's writing his will, but he didn't let us know. I don't know who my father's lawyer is. You know, these are things, it's all the social cultural issues, but to be very candid, let your family members know who your lawyer is. We need to know who to call. And it's not even about writing a will and trust fund alone. What about power of attorney? Power of attorney is simply appointing an agent to act on your behalf, especially in cases of incapacitation. Now, you see that some people are in the hospitals, they're sick, they cannot sign a document, you know, a medical form.
Anymore.
Yes, because who takes that decision? Now, in most cases, if you have a spouse, they'll say your spouse should come and take that decision. But for some people, they might not, their spouses might not even have the capacity to take that decision. It might actually be that you trust your brother more in that regard to take a sensitive, you know, decision on your behalf.
This thing you just said.
But if you don't have it, the medical, I don't think 1% of Nigerians have medical power of attorney. So there's property power of attorney, there's financial power of attorney. That in a situation where you cannot sign documentation or you are mentally incapacitated, who takes financial decisions on your behalf? It's part of estate planning. You know, your life here and after. And it's even very pertinent that we start having that discussion, especially in this trend of japa. A lot of people's children are, a lot of us are, you know, leaving our parents behind and we're going abroad. And some of them may never come back. What happens to this generation of parents who their children are abroad? Sometimes 4 children from the same parents. Yes. Who takes decision? You know, emergency decisions for your parents and all of that. So it's very imperative that we start talking about it.
You see why it was important for us to have this conversation when I called you?
It's an important discussion. You know, it wasn't comfortable. It's not convenient for me to be here today. But when I saw the topic, I just had to come.
I know. You know what? Let's go on a very short break because there's a lot to unpack. Stay with us.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. Now, we are still discussing managing family estate. Yes, and please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also call our phone lines 07025007749 or 07014242420. Let's hear what you have to say. Do you have a will? Do you have an estate planning lawyer? You know, are you planning your estate? You say financial incapacitation, medical incapacitation. Which one did you call again? Jehovah. Lami. God help me. So, Lami, how do we start to intentionally... So I hear you. You mentioned some of the instruments that is involved in the estate planning, entire estate planning management system. But we are already here. And a lot of people still do not believe that they have to talk about these very difficult things, right? You know, so is will and all this writing of all these, what's it called, attorney, power of attorney and all of that, is it for only wealthy people? Or everybody needs to just be conscious of this and just write it in the event of anything that goes wrong?
Okay, a lot of people ask me, is it for high net worth?
Yes, now.
High net worth
individuals, yeah.
No. Everybody should have. However, the bigger your estate, the more complex it becomes. But the moment you start acquiring real estate in particular, and you have children, you must have an estate planning instrument. So it doesn't have to be verbose, it doesn't have to be something big, but just at that level, you should be able to plan something. And particularly guardianship for your children. Then probably education insurance. I've seen a lot of children thrown out of schools because their father died. And it's even a disservice to the society. Because if you see a lot of children on the street today, ask them, why are you on the streets? My daddy died. So a lot of people don't make provisions for the education of their children. If you're not making any provision for your children, at least ensure that you do education, insurance, and medical. Once those two things are there, right? The other ones are a bit, minimal. But people don't do it. Ensure your children's education. Ensure their medicals.
Okay, greetings. Deborah says, greetings. There are so many things we need to deprogram or reprogram. Discussing death and preparing for the what-ifs is a main one. And this is honestly the whole, what's it called, foundation for why this, even though it's a difficult conversation to have, is something that must be had. So recently I was talking with my mom. So she went to Benin and she's saying, okay, she wants to go and do like some renovations for one of my dad's properties and all of that. And, you know, that the property is just there overgrown with grass. So he had put his older sister, but sadly she passed. And he said, okay, now let him just try to renovate it and just put tenants there. It's a good area in Benin and all of that. So my mom is there. So when she was talking, I now asked Mommy, I said, Mommy, does Daddy even have a will? And this is even before all of this happened, though. I said, does Daddy have a will that all these properties that you people are doing, do you understand? I'm not even saying it for me, right? Especially because, first of all, we are in a polygamous situation. And I know how polygamy can be funny, right? When it comes to issues around demises and all of that. I say for just in terms of sanity, right? I think Daddy should just write a will. So that whatever happens, it's not a lot of...
oh, your dad is alive?
Yeah, of course, very much. My daddy...
No, the way you were talking about him, I thought he had passed. No, so why is the obligation falling on your mom?
No, I'm saying he's her husband. She's the one that you think it's me. I'll tell him that he's what to write a will. I say your husband should write a will.
Oh, definitely, especially in a polygamous
dynamic. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, Bolami, this thing is so hard. So let me tell you something.
Why is it so hard?
We have
to do something so
we have a business. I'll tell you this. And this thing is something that has caused a lot of trouble. We have a farmland. And this farmland is jointly owned.
By
Mr. Saleh and somebody else. Do you understand? I've asked a question several times. Have you done the proper documentation of this property that in the event that anything goes wrong, automatically they just look at you, want to kill me, woman? Are you planning my death? You know, it is something that it is always, do you understand? It is always like that. So how do we transmit this need for estate planning lawyer without the man or the person thinking that you are planning my death? Because abroad, people take up life insurance. They won't tell you that I have a life insurance, so in case anything happens to me, you understand, this is what you're entitled to. They do that all the time. But it's such a heavy conversation to have. Okay. Do we, I mean, do we would I call it spiritualize or culturalize some of these conversations that is a must? Because if anything happens to you, it is us that will suffer.
Well, I've said it that it's the most responsible thing to do, especially when you have children. However, we have to keep talking about it till we get there. It's just sensitization. There's really nothing we can do about it.
Okay, Lami, so in the event of cases that you've seen... Yes.
Advocacy.
And advocacy. Cases of what you've seen in the past, right? That there was a demise and, of course, conflicts and all of that. How long does it take to resolve some of these issues? Because I've seen cases that have lasted in court for years. In the end, the property that was meant to help these people, whilst I'm no longer available to help them, it now becomes useless. You understand?
You want to hear the truth?
Yeah.
Sometimes these cases outlive the litigants themselves.
Wow.
It goes on to the third generation. How about that?
Then what was the use of the property?
So I think that it's very responsible for you to take care of your affairs while you are here. It's the best thing to do.
I don't even know where to continue from.
It's a difficult conversation, but and the best instrument I would always advise is trust.
Why?
And because there are a lot of advantages to trust. Trust avoids probate. If you make a will, right, you still have to go through probate for your executors.
Okay,
and
so sorry, I'm not a lawyer. Let me break down the terminologies. What's a probate?
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry about that.
Go ahead. No,
probate.
Of course, I know what it means. I just, for audience.
I know. Probate is when someone dies and has a will. Then is the legal authority granted by the probate court, by the high court, before the executors of that will can start acting upon that will. And it can be a lengthy and expensive process, right? But it's even worse if there's no will. That is when the person dies intestate. Then you have to start applying for letters of administration, which is cumbersome and expensive, and it burns a lot of energy. And that is even more expensive than probate. But when you have a trust fund outlives you. It makes provision. It can make provision for your first generation, second generation, third generation.
I see that is the sixth generation of that dog.
There's a trust fund for it. Hi. So it's the best instrument if you want to generate multi-generational wealth. Trust, I think we'll come back and talk about that. That one is a topic on its own. The instrument and all that. But trust fund is the best thing to do. So it caters, especially if you have properties that are income generating, so that you can make provisions for your children's education. You can make provisions for their for medicals and all of that, even while you're not there. But the moment you distribute everything, some people, they'll just sell it off. It doesn't take them, all the children of these days, you know all that property that you've labored for 30 years, they will sell it in one day. And once the money finishes, it's gone.
Yeah.
So if you look at the wealthiest families all over the world, it is trust fund. Most of it has been in trust. That's why it could get into the 7th generation. But if you look at Nigeria, most of our wealth, if it gets to the 2nd generation, they tried. How many businesses are in their 3rd generation in Nigeria? Because we don't make provision for business succession and trust. So everything just dissipates. That business succession, that one is even a big topic on its own. Because a lot of people die with their vision and they don't transfer it. That's why businesses upon businesses fail. You would start a business, by the time you are gone, you didn't transfer the knowledge to your children or whoever. You take it to your
Or you didn't even put up better structures to even hold that business.
Yeah, and your own children too will start their own and all. That's why we don't have multi-generational companies in Nigeria. That's why there's a lot of poverty. So people say, my children should go and start their own. After all, and I said, that is not a very unwise statement. Why do you want your children to start from the scratch again when they can start from where you stopped and take it even to a greater height?
Absolutely.
If you train them very well, if you do the right thing with them, they would even have a bigger vision than you. So it's not about you are making them lazy. No. You are entrusting to them, and you want them to even take the business bigger.
And trust is managed by trustees. And
so you could have individual trustees, and you can have corporate trustees.
Because
but corporate trustees
are
the best.
Okay. Because I know corporate trustees are the ones that, it is, and you can't influence anything.
You can't influence any
if you're supposed to pay school fees on the
biased.
26th of March, before you get to the school, your fees have been paid.
Yes. Corporate trustees are the best.
Yeah, they are the best. Do we have a lot of those corporate trustees in Nigeria?
A lot of them. I don't want to mention them, but a lot of them.
Okay, so
I work with them.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
So as as an estate planning lawyer, so you would work with those people to help ensure.
Lawyers can
But
be
you
trustees.
then monitor.
Yes,
I was
definitely.
Say yes.
You can appoint lawyers as also co-trustees.
Trustees.
Individuals to be, just to act as checks and balances. But the corporate trustees take the bulk of the work because they are more likely not to be biased. The moment you are appointing individuals as trustees, is very open to manipulations from beneficiaries, from even the trustees themselves. So corporate trustees are the best.
Are the best. Okay, so someone says, good evening, host. Thank you, good evening. And Deborah, it says, so true, especially when it limits wahala in our lives. It says, for the program, it said this story is too common in our society, which affects families dramatically. Because it has been an age-long problem. Right? I mean, you remember old Nollywood, when an Igbo man dies, the next day they will say the wife must marry the brother. It used to be something that we made a lot of movies around. And it's so sad that we are here and it's still happening today in our era. I don't know. I wish we could become a lot more, what's the word?
Pragmatic in that area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So apart from, let's say, for trust funds, right, it's still going to boil down to the fact that the person doesn't need to be extremely wealthy, right? I just want to clarify that.
Even if it's just one property that
you have,
and it's income generating, you can put it in a trust
fund.
Nobody can sell, and you would particularly state the reason for the trust fund. Probably it should be whatever income that is generated from it should be applied towards your children's education.
Can you do that whilst you're alive?
Oh, definitely. There's
so explain
living trust.
Yes,
you can put your properties in a living trust.
Okay.
And you can also be the trustee and make provisions for co-trustees in case you pass.
Yeah. So when there's a demise,
Yes.
Okay. Lami, what's the way forward?
Advocacy. We'll keep on talking and talking about it until it becomes a natural phenomenon for people to...
Would he ever get there?
Yes, we will, because we're talking about it. The conversation has started, especially in the light of this
events.
Of course, it would jolt people to realization.
That's interesting. Because when we talk about generational wealth, I keep on wondering how we are still at that point where we're not seeing, because if you look at the Italians, for instance, some of their companies, hundreds of years, it's been in the family,
Japanese
so
have businesses in the 9th generation.
So it is the intentionality.
All these multinationals,
yeah,
they have family businesses.
And they have outlived different generations.
Of course, because they pass the knowledge, there's the structured business succession plans and all of that. Most businessmen today have no succession plan. They are just plowing and plowing into the business, and there's nothing, they have no plan on how that business is going to outlive them. So I know somebody who, very wealthy, he went to bed and did not wake up. And everything in his family just went in disarray, his children and everything. He even had a very large amount of money with his friend, and the friend never owned up.
Ooh. Wow.
So
it even means that when you have this estate planning lawyer, apart from even all of those things, like in the events that you have funds in different places, it is the duty of that lawyer to document every single thing.
Have you heard of family office before?
No.
That's what family office is. It's this tool that estate lawyers use. It's not very common in Nigeria. I'm starting one, but it's common abroad. This family office caters for every area of your family. Your children's school, health, insurance. It's just where when a family founder dies, your family knows where to go to. They know who they're calling. Where is his family office located? And everything is sorted. Everything is catered for. So you want to do such deals, you let them know. They document
So with
it.
all these big
So
men where we get for Nigeria, they don't get family office for Nigeria.
It's not a phenomenon in
Hell,
Africa. It's just
Salobua.
starting. It's just starting. It's just starting. I just thought about it that I think, no, some people have,
Yeah.
but a lot of high network.
Individuals.
Yes. So,
No,
you know,
what can be
middle
higher
class.
than the case that we're talking about? Let me take Loma. Loma, good evening. Thank you for calling. Loma, you're live. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Loma, are you there? You know, what can be higher than the case that we are talking about? It is scary, Lami.
Yes, it is scary.
It is
but
scary.
More and more middle-class families should please engage in it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of stress off you. People know where to face. They know who to call.
I get you. I get you. I get you. I think we have Loma back. Loma, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. Yes. I want to let us see. I wouldn't have contributed on anything. Hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you.
I wouldn't have contributed on anything, just listening to the estate management law. See, but that word battle made me to look into it. So I want to let us know one thing. People these days doesn't know. We came to this world empty, and it is certain that we are returning back empty while departing. When you know you did not come to this world with anything, and it is certain that all of us are going back empty. Why departure?
But Loma, do you have a will?
I don't have a will. No. I have property, but I have not willed any because I'm still planning to get some. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to have a will. I will tell them, make sure you manage it well when I'm normal. Because why I'm saying this, even the person, the family or the wife side that are battling on that will, don't you know you can finish battling with that will, and that same day, the ultimate call will come upon your way, and you will die at living. Why fighting for things that will be here and when we all are gone? So it is good to have a will. I'm not against it, but I am telling people to battle for it. It's act of ignorance that people doesn't know. We came to this world empty. It's certain we are going back empty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello all. I love simply breaking down this matter. We need to change this culture. Parents, please start having these discussions and teaching our kids from young so they can grow with the mindset. See what Loma just said. And I can tell you, Lami, this is a tall order. I don't envy you. I say my whole family member, they talk, he say, are you planning my death? Because it's so interesting how peaceful people all of a sudden just become violent, all in the name of a property.
I don't understand.
I hear where Loma's, what's it called, where his school of thought is. The truth is that we came in empty, we leave empty. But in the end, there's something
why
there.
we are
Do you
here?
understand?
Why we're here? People don't remember that. That's because the amount of funerals I have gone to. In fact, I should not, nothing should matter to me anymore. Well, after many days, you will forget, and the struggle will continue.
But lawyer, you get will. Have you written your own? Have you appointed trustees?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Guardians for my children.
Okay.
I have 2 adult children, so I don't need. But for my little one, yes, I have.
Wow. I'm suspecting. Because I put you on the spot there.
Oh yes, I knew you were going to ask me. But the truth is that even lawyers are advocating for it. If you ask, not all of us do. I'm telling you. It's just, I don't know. It's just something that we always push to the back burner. It's not like we don't understand how imperative that it is, but it is not, because we are live sound and all of that, we always think that we can always do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. So it's not like people always not want to do it, but they don't see.
Okay, so maybe another thing some people are thinking, the money. How do I afford you now? As if I want to engage your services now, say, let me come and look at my small Kokolo property. Can I engage your services? How affordable is it to have a family estate lawyer? Maybe estate planning lawyer.
Yoruba will say, I don't know how to.
I cannot go and get charge of bail. Allow me.
No, it depends on the size. It depends on the size of the estate. And there's always a lawyer for everybody. There's always a lawyer for everybody. Then, when you're talking about money, you cannot put this on the same pedestal with taking charge of the affairs of your life. If it matters to you, then you will get the money. If it's imperative to you.
Hey, lawyer. No wonder una dey ball. I want to become a lawyer, Lami. Should I go to school and go back to becoming a lawyer? But thank you so much, Lami. I mean, this has been a very educative conversation. I really was hoping that we were able to break down the issues, why people don't see these things, and I think you did justice to that. You know, it would be nice for us to continue to monitor what is going on and keep advocating, like you said, so that more people... It's a tough conversation to have, but I think more people just need to wake up. If you've worked so hard and you have put this structure in place, why don't you put a structure that helps to preserve it, that generations outlive you and, you know, everybody's enjoying.
Thank you. And they pray for you as a founder of that family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lami, for your time.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been a very interesting and amazing conversation. And yes, if you missed our very important quote for today, it says, when it comes to divide an estate, the politest men quarrel. I think it's a very apt quote. I'll see you guys on Monday at 8 p.m. Enjoy your weekend.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.